In this tutorial for Team Yankee, I'm going to talk about concealment and gone to ground. So the question is, why would you want concealment? What does it do for you? So let's just take this infantry team, and they are being shot at by this Abrams. And Abrams decides, you know what, I want to do my machine gun at him. So looking at this, they're hit on a 3. So 3 or higher, they get hit. The Abrams is going to shoot its machine guns, and so if we look, they're going to get 3 shots, 1 shot, and 1 shot. As long as they're within 16, they're going to get all these. So we're going to pretend, yeah, no problem. So it's going to get 5 dice to shoot at it, needing 3s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so needing 3s, it hit 3 times. Now, what if these guys want to make it harder to hit them? This is where concealment comes in. Concealment gives the one harder to hit them. So now, instead of 3s, they're going to need 4s. So I'm going to just change this to a straight, like this. So let's say they rolled this, just to keep it simple. So rolled a 2, 3, 4. I can't even find a 2. There it is. Okay, so 2, 3, 4. So in the open, hit 4 times. Now, with short terrain between them, such as this, or a bush, and remember, if you want to know what short terrain is, go to your chart here that tells you. Out in the open, nothing. Short terrain makes it 1 harder to hit them. They have concealment. It's a little harder to, this is trying to shoot over this wall. It's hitting, the bullets are hitting the wall. They're kind of ducking behind the wall a little bit. So now it's going to need 4s to hit them. So it just makes it 1 harder to hit the target. Well, like I said, low terrain such as that, the field, the crop field, and all that can give you concealment. Also, digging in, which is a skill check. Your men are basically creating foxholes. And so if we had some men out here digging and they wanted to create a foxhole and they were successful, we mark it. Now they are concealed. Now there are ways to get rid of concealment. One of the ways is that if this tank wants to shoot them, it's back here. No, it's not close enough. If it's within 2 inches of the short terrain, they don't get the bonus. So now it got rid of the +1 difficulty to hit them back to 3s. However, when they shoot at him, they're more than 2 inches from this. So this still gets the concealment, or 1 harder to hit them. So if you're within 2 inches, which this one is, it gets the bonus of concealment but removes the concealment from the target. Now, if they're both within 2 inches, the wall doesn't matter. It might as well not even be there. But it has to also be between you. So if the wall's over here and you're within 2 inches, but they're up here, there's no concealment. Now, let's talk about something like a field. Now, your guys can be in the field. Do they get concealment? Yes. If they're in the field, they're going to get concealment. If your vehicle's in the field, they're going to get concealment. Aircraft, no. Now, the same rule applies when these guys were within 2 inches of that wall. They get concealment, but the tank loses it. There is a way you could do the same thing here. So here's the tank. It's within 2 inches of this. However, this is a field. So it does not nullify their concealment. They're hiding in the trees and the woods and stuff like this. They're hunkering down, so they're hard to see. But they're close enough to the edge, so if they're within 2 inches of that, they get a clear shot to this. This does not get concealment. They do. Now, if they're further back than the 2 inches, they both have concealment. Now, another thing to think about is if they're on this side, yeah, they're within 2 inches, but they're back here. Go in the direction that the firing is going from. They're not within 2 inches of this edge, so they both will have concealment. Now they have concealment, it does not. So on short terrain, if you're within 2 inches of the edge here, you gain the concealment, but you nullify the concealment for the target. Now I'm going to put this out here and that out there. And so here they are. They're in the woods there. Actually, they're going to be way back here. They're one really good concealment. These guys are behind the wall, and they're here. Well, both of these will have concealment because they're not within 2 inches. They will not have concealment from them. So when they are shooting, they're within 2 inches of this, they nullify this, no concealment. But when they're shooting here, they get concealment because they're more than 2 inches away. But what happens if we take these same guys and now we're going to put them like on a second floor of this building? So here they are on the second floor. Who gets concealment? When you are on higher ground, and that includes hills, so if this tank's up on this hill, none of these get concealment. With short terrain, if you're up on a second floor, third floor, if you're up on a hill, you nullify the short terrain because you're seeing over it. Now, the nice thing is they now have concealment because they're in a building. So buildings give you concealment if you're inside of them. So just remember that for short terrain, if the one shooting is on higher ground, they nullify the short terrain concealment. Now let's talk about tall terrain. And again, look at your sheet. It tells you short, flat, tall. And we're just going to use this building as an example. And this is back here. And this Abrams here wants to shoot at him. So they've got line of sight. There's their gun mounting. They can see him. Is this concealed? How you tell is looking at the hull, not the gun here, but the hull. Is it 50% or less of the vehicle you're seeing? Yes, so it is concealed. Is it more than 50%? Then it's not concealed. That's pretty much the rule. Less than 50% concealed, more than 50% not concealed. Now, on infantry teams, it's the same thing. You just look at their base. Would that be considered concealed? Yes. No. Aircraft and all that never really get concealment. There is a way some of them do, but we won't go. I'll get to that in just a little bit. Okay, so the same thing applies to hills. So here's a hill. It's wanting to shoot. We're just going to say it has a line of sight by what we're seeing here from the camera. All right, so here we go. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this down a little bit more so we can get a bird's eye view of what is this Abrams actually seeing. So please excuse this just for a second. And I'm going to raise this up a little bit. Sorry about that. There we go. Oh, now we can actually kind of see what the Abrams is seeing. So we're seeing this, can't shoot it. Now the rules in the book say kind of look and see if they can see part of it. The way I normally play it is I use this edge here. This way there's no argument. You can use your tape measure kind of as a guide as to where the edge is. So to be able to see that, I would have to be somewhere like over here to be able to see around that hill. But the rule book says kind of what does the tank see. So I'm going to move this tank kind of how we would see. So there we go. Can we see 50% of this vehicle? Not really. So it's going to have concealment. Now it will not. Another thing that could happen is, now of course they can't see each other here. Even though you see this guy's head, don't worry about that. It's the body, like we want to see, able to see the tank like this. So no, and it's on the other side of the hill. We pretend like this is going up forever. We cannot see the other side of the hill. Now, one thing this tank can do is pull up in what's called hull down. You can tell the opponent, I'm going hull down. You just kind of stick your tank up like this. It means it's kind of peeking up, so it can see out here, but since it can see out here, anybody can see it. Well, not anybody. What it can see it. So if it can see this Abrams can see it. Now, what's nice about this is this gets concealment when being shot by the Abrams, but the Abrams is not going to get concealment from the hill. So that's a little trick you can use for your tank. Go hull down. The hill's kind of between you. I'm going to say between you, where it's kind of like being with that within the 2 inches of the woods or 2 inches of a fence. You're within 2 inches of this hill type thing, even though you're on top of it. You nullify concealment for this, but you get the concealment of the hill to make it harder to hit you. Now with tall terrain, such as woods, they're treated basically almost identical to the fields we had earlier, where the guys were within 2 inches, they get concealment, but the opponent does not. Same thing here. So if they're in the woods, and a tank could do this also, so it's just not infantry, and they're wanting to shoot this Abrams, the Abrams is not going to get concealment, they will. And just remember when I went over line of sight, if they're further than 2 inches, they have to be within 6 inches of each other to see each other. If they're on the other side of the woods, they can't even see each other. So this is another way to get concealment, is in the woods, be at the edge. You gain it, the opponent does not. Last thing I want to cover is aircraft, and it doesn't matter if it's a helicopter or a strike aircraft, the same rules apply. So we're just going to use the helicopter. Now, do these men get concealment? No, they're in the open. What if they're behind this short terrain? No. They're considered up, just like in people on second floor and up on a hill, they're considered up. They lose the concealment from the short terrain. So we're going to head to tall terrain. Here they are behind this building. Can they see each other? Yes. Because aircraft always have line of sight to everybody. Everybody always has line of sight to the aircraft. Does anybody get concealment here? Yes. The only way to get concealment from aircraft is it has to be tall terrain. It has to be between you and the aircraft, and you have to be within 4 inches of the tall terrain. So they're within 4 inches. So if they were back here at 5 inches, no concealment. 4 inches or less, they get the concealment. So now it's one harder to hit them. Now, since they get the concealment, they also get the concealment, because they're trying to shoot through this, and so it's a little harder to hit them. Now, I will say there is a special rule for like cobras, and it's called the hunter-killer. So what I'm setting up here is the men are out here in the open. There's that. Here's the hind. Does anybody get concealment? Actually, I'm going to scoot this over here. No. To get concealment, they have to be within 4 inches of the tall terrain, not the helicopter. It doesn't matter about where the hind's at, it's where is the target at, or the one shooting at them. So if the hind was shooting at them, they're going to get concealment because they're within 4 inches of the tall terrain and it's between them. But also if they're shooting at the hind, it's going to get concealment because they're behind it. If they move over here on their turn to shoot, well, now the hind does not get concealment. Okay, so that's the hind. Same thing for if it's this, same situation. If they shoot at it, it's going to get concealment. If it shoots at it, they get concealment. Neither get concealment. So now we've got the one who got the hunter-killer. In this case, they both get concealment. In this case, it still gets concealment. Just kind of read about the rule about hunter-killer, but if a helicopter with hunter-killer, remember helicopters and aircraft never really get concealment. This one has a special rule that allows it. If it's within 4 inches of tall terrain and it's between who's trying to shoot at them, it gets concealment. So if the AA here is trying to shoot at this Cobra, it's within 4 inches of this tall terrain. That could be a hill, woods. Again, use that sheet. This is one harder to hit now. And so this is one harder to hit. However, this gets no concealment. This is not going to get concealment for this building. Now they will. So be careful and remember about your hunter-killer rule for aircraft such as the Cobra. The last thing I want to cover now is gone to ground. So we've done concealment, and if you get concealment, it's one harder to hit you. What does gone to ground do for you? And what that does is it makes it even harder to hit you. So these men were a 3 to hit. So if this Abrams was attacking them, and let's say the Abrams rolled this, and I'm going to say it's it's close. I'm going to say it gets a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because this is going to be the simplest way for me to explain it. So in the open, needs 3s to hit them, because if we go look at the men, they're hit on 3. And this is going to get 3, 4, 5 shots. As long as they're within 16, it can get 5 shots on them. 5 machine gun shots on these guys. All right, so they got hit 4 times. Now, there is a shrub or a short terrain between them. Now they're concealed. Now they only got 3. What does gone to ground do for you? That makes it where it's another one harder to hit them. Now it's 5s to hit them. So how do you get gone to ground? First of all, you have to be concealed. If you're not concealed, you don't get gone to ground. You may be gone to ground, but you don't get the bonus. The only way you get the extra harder to hit you is first you have to be concealed. Then you could not, basically you don't do really anything on your turn. I mean, you can dig in and stuff like that, but you cannot move, shoot, or assault on your turn. If you did not move, if you did not shoot, if you did not assault on your turn, you're gone to ground and you mark them. Tanks can go to ground, aircraft can't. Well, yes they can. The Cobra can. Okay, so no move, no shooting, and no assaulting, you're gone to ground. If you're concealed, you get both bonuses. If you're not concealed, you get nothing. So it's an all or nothing deal. Concealed gives you that +1. Gone to ground gives you the extra 1 as long as you are concealed. And remember, if you dig in, you're concealed in your foxholes, and you didn't move or anything, you're gone to ground. Also, at the beginning of the game, unless it says otherwise, everybody's gone to ground. But remember, you only get that bonus if you're concealed. So there's a couple things I want to cover, and one of them is this one. This helicopter can move and still stay gone to ground. It's got a special rule with its hunter-killer deal that normally if you move, you lose your gone to ground. They get to keep it because what they're doing is they're hiding behind this building or behind another hill. So if this moves, it still keeps its gone to ground. However, when it shoots, it's lost its gone to ground. So keep that in mind. There are some special items or equipment that can move or shoot and keep gone to ground. Another one would be scouts can move and still keep their gone to ground. Same as what this does. Also the hammerhead, the ITV hammerhead, if it shoots, it still keeps gone to ground as long as it doesn't move or assault. So there are some exceptions to how you can still keep going to ground and move or shoot. But for the most part, if you don't move, don't shoot, or don't assault on your turn, you're gone to ground. And if you're concealed, you get both bonuses. If you're not concealed, you're still gone to ground, but you don't gain the extra +1 to hit.